The Magic School Bus Space Explorers, Chapter 2. The great power of the rockets gave the bus enough speed to break away from Earth's gravity. We zoomed through the atmosphere into dark, airless space. Earth's Protector by Keisha. The atmosphere is the thin layer of air that surrounds and protects Earth. The atmosphere is held down by Earth's gravity. Without gravity, the air we breathe would fly off into space. A word from Dorothy Ann. Gravity is the force within a star or planet that pulls objects towards its center. Once we were going fast enough, the frizz turned off the rockets. Right away, strange things started to happen. I had been holding Rocco on my lap, but I let go of him for a second and he floated up to the ceiling. At the same time, Ralphie yelled, "Hey, I can fly!" He had unbuckled his seatbelt and was floating above us like Peter Pan. That's because we're weightless while we stay in orbit around Earth, Miss Frizzle explained. With the engines off, we're no longer being pulled toward the floor of the bus by gravity, so our bodies can float around. "I've got to try it," Keisha said. She unbuckled her seatbelt and moved too quickly, spinning around in a somersault. Wow, we're floating in space. Yeah, we're totally spaced out. Soon we were all bumping into one another as we tumbled around inside the space bus. We had to hold on to our seat backs to steady ourselves. Arnold was floating upside down near a window. "Look at Earth," he said. "It's so beautiful from up here." We all floated over to see. Earth was blue and brownish green, a sphere surrounded by swirling white clouds. Home, sweet home. Earth, the perfect planet by Arnold. Earth is the perfect distance from the sun for life. It's not too hot and it's not too cold. It has water and gases such as oxygen that living things need. It also has an atmosphere to protect it from harmful rays from the sun. All of this makes Earth a perfect place for animals and plants to live and grow. Earth is one of the 4 rocky planets, along with Mercury, Venus, and Mars, the Frizz said. But as you can see, most of the surface is covered with water. Some people think a better name for our planet would be an ocean. There was still a lot of water covering Earth. I couldn't believe how small the planet looked from space. "Hey, there's a moon," Wanda called, "or at least half of it." "The whole moon is there, Wanda," said Miss Frizzle. "We only see the part that is lit up by the sun's light." The Orb That Orbits by Wanda. The moon orbits the Earth, just as Earth orbits the sun. One orbit takes 29.5 days. The moon seems to change shape because we see different amounts of its sunlit side as it travels around Earth. I remembered that the moon is covered with rocks. "Miss Frizzle," I said, "could we stop here? I always wanted some moon rocks for my collection." "Sure thing, Carlos." Miss Frizzle fired some engines to change our direction. We slowed down as we came near the bright side of the moon. It was covered with deep pits and craters that looked like huge bowls. We landed in one of the wide craters with a thud. "Put on your space helmets, everyone," Miss Frizzle instructed us, showing us how to strap on our breathing equipment. "You won't be able to breathe without the oxygen tanks. There's not a breath of air out there." Since sound can't travel without air, we all had radios in our helmets so we could talk to one another. I stepped carefully off the bus onto the dusty ground. "Wow, I could hardly believe it. I feel like Neil Armstrong," I said. "One small step for Carlos." "Well, watch your step," the Frizz told us. "The moon has gravity, but it's much weaker than on Earth. You're going to be much lighter on your feet here than you are at home." Moonwalk by Carlos. On July 20th, 1969, American astronaut Neil Armstrong became the first person to set foot on the moon. He was one of the 3 men in the Apollo 2 crew. Millions and millions of people around the world watched on TV. Armstrong said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Between 1969 and 1972, 12 U.S. astronauts walked on the moon. They brought back 855 pounds of rocks and soil for scientists to study. From the desk of Miss Frizzle's Guide to Gravity. The pull of gravity depends on the mass of the planet, moon, or other body in space. Usually, the larger the body, the more mass it has. The moon is much smaller than the Earth, so it has much less gravity. If you weigh 75 pounds on Earth, you would weigh only about 12.5 pounds on the moon. "Whee!" called Ralphie. "This is better than a trampoline." He jumped easily off the ground, came back down, then bounced up. Soon we were all leaping and laughing. D.A. and Keisha started a game of leapfrog. "I can leap like a real frog," Keisha said. "I can jump like a cat," D.A. said. "Come to think of it, I now weigh about the same as my cat does on Earth." We were having so much fun, I almost forgot the reason we had come here in the first place. "Rocks," I said. "It's time to put Rocco to work." I bent over and set Rocco down, but I didn't see Tim jumping behind me. He came down and knocked me over, and Rocco flew out of my hands. As I fell, I landed on Rocco's remote control and accidentally hit the on button. Oh no! Rocco's rockets fired up and he blasted off into space. "Rocco!" I cried. I reached up to grab him, but he zoomed away. I could see his tail wagging as he went. Poor Rocco! He shot off into the darkness. He could be lost in space forever. What would I do without him? Oh no, Rocco is lost in space. I hope in the next chapter they can find Rocco and bring him back. Now, in this chapter, in Miss Frizzle's Guide to Gravity, they talked about mass. I'm going to read it one more time. It says, "The pull of gravity depends on the mass of the planet, moon, or other body in space. Usually, the larger the body, the more mass it has." So I want you to think about this, readers. Who do you think would have more mass? Me, Miss Lawrence, or you? Remember, the moon is smaller than the Earth, so it has less mass. So who do you think has less mass, me or you? I'm going to give you 1 minute to think about that. Did you think? Yeah, you got it. You would have less mass because you are smaller than me. Great job. You're not only super readers, but you are super scientists. I hope you join me to read chapter 3.